Ever wondered why you stayed in a relationship even when you knew it wasn't right for you? It's a question that leaves many of us scratching our heads, isn't it? We're smart, we're strong, and yet sometimes it feels like there's a puppeteer pulling our strings from the shadows. That puppeteer, ladies and gentlemen, is our unconscious mind. Let's dive right in, shall we? Picture an iceberg. The tip that's visible above the water, that's our conscious mind. It's where our logic and common sense live. But underneath the surface, that's where our unconscious mind resides. It's vast and it's deep, and it's driving our choices, often without us even realizing it. Now let's talk about red flags. Those little warning signs that something isn't quite right. They can be as subtle as a dismissive comment or as glaring as a pattern of broken promises. We've all experienced them, but how often have we chosen to ignore them? And why do we do that? Well, it's complex. Sometimes it's about comfort. We're familiar with the relationship, the routine. It's like an old worn-in pair of shoes. They might not look great, but they're comfortable, and that can be hard to give up. Other times we're driven by fear of being alone, fear of the unknown, fear of not finding someone better. And then there's hope that things will change, that they'll improve. We cling to these fragments of hope, even when all signs point to the contrary. But here's the thing, ignoring these red flags doesn't make them disappear. They're still there, waving in the back of our minds. And the more we ignore them, the more they seep into our unconscious, influencing our decisions, our actions, our very lives. Understanding the undercurrents of our decisions is the first step in changing our patterns. It's about unveiling the unconscious, recognizing these red flags, and understanding why we've chosen to overlook them. Only then can we start to take back control, to steer our own ship, and to navigate towards healthier, happier relationships. Red flags in relationships are not just warning signs, they are communication from our gut instincts. Imagine walking down a path and suddenly a bright red flag pops up. It's there, waving in the wind, impossible to ignore. This is exactly what happens in our relationships. These red flags are signals from our intuition, whispering, sometimes shouting, that something isn't quite right. Often these red flags are subtle, like the feeling of being disrespected or unheard. It could be your partner talking over you, dismissing your feelings, or making decisions without your input. It's when you feel less of a partner and more of an accessory in their life. And then, there are the more glaring red flags. Manipulation is one. If you find yourself constantly second-guessing your thoughts and decisions because of your partner's influence, that's a red flag. It's when love and affection become conditional, a tool used to control you. Lack of communication is another. It's not just about not talking, it's about not sharing, not opening up, not being able to discuss the difficult things. It's when silence becomes a wall, not a comfortable pause. And let's not forget the importance of shared values. If you believe in honesty and your partner doesn't, that's a red flag. If you want a family and they don't, that's another. It's when the path you want to walk on and the path they're on are going in completely different directions. Remember, red flags are not just about them, they're about you too. They are your intuition's way of telling you what you need and what you deserve. They are not just warning signs, they are guidelines, helping you navigate the complex web of relationships. Ignoring these signs can lead us into emotional turmoil. Recognizing them empowers us to make healthier choices. So, the next time a red flag pops up, don't just walk past it. Stop, look at it, understand what it's trying to tell you. Because it's not just a flag, it's a message from your gut, and it's always worth listening to. Why do we stay in relationships that don't serve us? The answer often lies deep within. Let's delve into the psychological reasons that anchor us in unsatisfying relationships. It's a journey that takes us through the shadowy realms of fear, the cozy nooks of comfort, and the bright vistas of hope. Each one plays a pivotal role in our decision-making. Fear, it's a powerful motivator, and it's often the unseen hand guiding our choices. Fear of loneliness, fear of change, fear of the unknown. It's the voice in the back of our minds whispering, what if you never find someone better? What if you end up alone? Fear holds us back, keeps us in situations that are less than ideal, because the devil we know is often less terrifying than the devil we don't. Then there's comfort. Familiarity breeds a sense of security, even in the most tumultuous of relationships. The daily rituals, the shared history, the known quirks and habits, these create a sense of stability, a predictable pattern that's hard to break away from. It's like an old worn-out sweater. It might not look great, and it might have a few holes, but it's warm and it's familiar. And sometimes, that's enough to make us stay. And finally, there's hope. The shining beacon that keeps us trudging through the mire. Hope that things will get better, that our partner will change, that the good times will outweigh the bad. Hope is a double-edged sword. It can keep us striving for improvement, but it can also keep us tethered to relationships that are beyond repair. So fear, comfort, hope, these are the invisible threads that often keep us tied to relationships that don't serve us. But recognizing these motivations, understanding their influence, is the first step towards liberation. It's the key that unlocks the door to healthier, happier relationships. Understanding these motivations offers us the chance to break free from unhealthy patterns. The journey to self-understanding isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. We've all heard this sentiment before, but when it comes to our relationships, it takes on a whole new level of importance. Introspection, that deep, inward journey, can be daunting. It's like navigating a winding road in the dark, with only the dim light of self-awareness to guide us. But don't be discouraged. This journey is about learning and growth, about discovering what truly makes us tick. It's about dissecting our choices, our behaviors, our patterns. It's about asking ourselves the tough questions. Why did we ignore those red flags? Why did we stay when part of us knew it wasn't a long-term relationship? It's about looking at our past decisions without judgment, but with a desire to learn and grow from them. Honesty is a crucial part of this journey. We need to be brutally honest with ourselves, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about accepting that we are not perfect, that we make mistakes and that's okay. It's about acknowledging our weaknesses and working to turn them into strengths. Sometimes this journey can seem overwhelming, and that's okay too. If you feel like you're struggling, consider seeking professional help. Therapists, counselors, and coaches can provide valuable guidance and support. They can help us see things from a different perspective, challenge our thought patterns, and guide us towards healthier behaviors. But remember, this journey is not about blaming ourselves or others. It's about understanding, about recognizing our patterns, about making better choices in the future. It's about empowering ourselves to take control of our lives and our relationships. So let's embark on this journey of self-understanding. Let's dig deep, ask the tough questions, and learn from our past. Let's embrace the discomfort of growth, and remember that every step, no matter how small, brings us closer to understanding ourselves better. It's time to take control and make decisions that truly serve our happiness and well-being. Remember, it's not about blaming ourselves for past mistakes, but learning from them. As we wrap up today's discussion, let's take a moment to reflect on the journey we've embarked upon together. We've delved into the labyrinth of our unconscious mind, unraveling the threads of our hidden motivations and desires. We've acknowledged that sometimes our choices are driven not by our conscious thoughts, but by a deeper, often unexplored part of ourselves. We then cast a critical eye on the red flags, those little warning signs that, in hindsight, were signaling potential issues. We've learned that these flags, no matter how small, should not be ignored. They serve as indicators of areas that may need our attention, or even a signal that something is fundamentally wrong. We've also explored why we sometimes choose to stay in relationships that we know, deep down, aren't right for us. We've discovered that our motivations for staying can vary widely, from fear of being alone to the comfort of familiarity. But it's important to remember that it's okay to choose ourselves, our happiness, and our well-being over a relationship that doesn't serve us. We've journeyed together towards self-understanding, acknowledging that this process is far from easy. It requires honesty, courage, and a willingness to face the sometimes uncomfortable truths about ourselves and our choices. Now, as we move forward, I encourage you to reflect on your past relationships. Identify any red flags you may have overlooked and understand the motivations that kept you there. Use these insights not to dwell in the past, but to inform your future choices. Remember, every step you take towards self-understanding is a step towards healthier, happier relationships. It's about breaking patterns that no longer serve you and making choices that align with your true desires and needs. With understanding and self-love, we can make healthier choices in our relationships. You deserve nothing less.